This movie takes place in the mid-90s. I'm gonna assume it's 1997 because there's a scene where he and his brother are playing PlayStation 1, but they're playing it with the analog controller. The analog controller came out in 1997. If they wanted it to take place before 1997, gotta go old school, dude. But any later than 1997 would be 1998, in which case this movie probably should have been called late 90s, so 97 it is. Mid-90s. So Mid-90s is written and directed by Jonah Hill. It's really the story of a kid hanging out in the mid-90s. Yes, kids, before social media, you get to see what kids did with their time, which is video games, movies, playing in the woods, and making forts, or skateboarding. That's what these kids in here do. It follows this young kid who has a pretty shitty home life. Like, his brother beats him up. We're not talking brother wrestling. This kid really gets pummeled by his brother. Literally abused. So he starts hanging out with these kids who hang out in the skateboard shop. They go skateboarding. So he takes up skateboarding himself. He hangs out with them. He gets the name Sunburnt, which I thought was great because I gave everybody nicknames. Couldn't talk to a girl to save my life, but nicknames for days. It's really, that's what it is. It's a really simple story, but a very sweet story about hanging out in the mid-90s. And really the crew is a crew of nobodies. They all do a fine job. Some do better than others. But in the end, you just fall into the purity of it. Like, I was never a skater in the 90s, but some of the scenarios I completely recognize. There's a scene where he's in his bedroom with this girl. He doesn't know what to do. I was there. I had no idea what to do. In fact, that kid got farther than me. I just sat there and froze up. Whatever. I had other things on my mind. Like, Final Fantasy VII wasn't going to beat itself. But it was a neat look into that world. I got really nostalgic. Although, like, his friends, like, I didn't hang out with that crowd. But that's the thing. It's like, you don't have to. This friend circle hanging out, these friends hanging out, there's friends hanging out, feels like friends hanging out. But really, it's an interesting look into that world, and it's a peek behind the curtain that asks the questions. Who are those kids? Who are they inside? Like, what's their home life like? Like, it's so easy to see a certain group of kids and be like, oh, they're hoodlums, they're up to no good. There's actually an awesome moment where the kid's mom's just freaking out like, they look like gang members. But it's like, they're way better for your kid than your other son, his brother is. But it just shows so often, parents, it's hard for them to reflect into the household. Like, it's easy to be like, no, there's not a problem here, but sometimes there is. And I gotta give the movie props for sticking to the times. This movie completely felt like it was made about and made in the 90s. It's filmed with 4:3 aspect ratio. It looks like this. It's not like a found footage movie or anything like that. It just makes it feel a little more of the 90s. And I know 90s movies had scope and flat aspect ratio back then. I know widescreen existed, but it's not supposed to feel super high budget. Imagine a super small indie movie of the 90s would look a lot like this, or in black and white, whichever one. The movie does have some language representative of the time that some people in 2018 might not like. Like, example, if they see something they don't like, if something is lame, they don't say lame, they say that's gay, which was common language of youth in the 90s. And it doesn't stop there. There are harsher terms that they use also that were also common language back then. I only bring it up because I heard there's some heat and backlash on the movie for that. Maybe it's because the usage of those terms is more recent than the 90s. Not like those terms just died in the 90s. Not like the turn of the millennium, like, all right, we're not using those jokes anymore. Those kind of jokes and terms were used in television shows, movies, until very recently, actually, comparatively recently. Someone can make a movie called The 2000s, and you could use a lot of the same terminology in that movie. I personally saw that kind of language being used in this movie as the artist representing the time. The movie does end a bit abruptly. It's not a long movie. It's just shy of an hour and a half long. And when the movie ends, you're like, so it's over, I guess. What is this, a Sopranos finale? Granted, there's a bit of an arc you see, but there's one part where I feel like more consequences should have happened. It's like something happens and essentially they'll just dodge a bullet. I feel like the gods demanded a sacrifice there. They didn't get one. Because in the end, mid-90s, I really enjoyed. I don't know if it's because I was alive in the mid-90s and there's that nostalgic part of my brain going, oh yeah, I totally remember this world. Maybe I just want to escape 2018 that much. But I genuinely believe it's a sweet film, an interesting story about a kid trying to find a family because his family life sucks. And I'll say mid-90s was a really good time. No alcohol required. All right, so mid-90s, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.